Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, May 3rd concurrent regular meeting of the Walnut Creek City Council and the Walnut Creek Parking Authority. The City Council is conducting this meeting from the City Council chamber, and staff are complying with the current regulations of the California Department of Public Health and Cal OSHA for safe indoor meetings. As a courtesy and technology permitting, members of the public may continue to provide live, remote, oral public comment via the city's Zoom video conferencing platform. However, the city cannot guarantee that the public's access to teleconferencing technology will be uninterrupted, and technical difficulties may occur from time to time. Members of the public desiring to provide comments at the meeting are encouraged to attend the meeting in person. As some attendees may be participating in their first Walnut Creek City Council meeting or their first teleconference meeting, I wanted to welcome everyone and talk briefly about the public comment process. For each agenda item, there will be an opportunity to provide public comment on that item. Thus, if you desire to speak to an item on the agenda this evening, please hold your comments until the council considers that item. Additionally, we have a section on the agenda entitled Public Communications, which is for public comments on items that are not on the agenda. Any comments during public communication should not relate to an item that is on the agenda this evening. Consistent with Section 9.5 of the Council Handbook, 30 minutes will be initially allocated for public communications on items that are not on the agenda. Additional time for public communications for items not on the agenda will be provided at the end of the open session portion of the meeting if necessary. When I open the public comment period, please use the raise hand feature or press *9 if you're connected by audio only. We ask that everyone who wishes to speak on an item, please use that raise hand feature to state your intent to speak when the item is called. If you're attending in person, please complete a speaker identification card and line up behind the lectern at the appropriate time. Please keep in mind that this is a city business meeting. The City Council has adopted rules of decorum to ensure that meetings are conducted efficiently and effectively, and that all members of the public have a full, fair, and equal opportunity to be heard. All remarks should be addressed to the City Council. Please do not use profanity during your comments. Given the COVID-19 pandemic and the increased number of speakers that have wanted to make comments on various issues during our meetings, and consistent with city policies related to public comments, each speaker will have 2 minutes to make your remarks. The Zoom feed for each speaker will cut off automatically at 2 minutes. The council will accept oral comments. Written comments submitted and received up to 2 hours before the meeting have been posted to the city's website for public review and are included in the meeting record but will not be separately read into the record. To provide a live remote public comment, join the Zoom video conference meeting. The meeting ID and password are, the ID is 895-7171-1409, and the passcode is 260587. Should you choose to not provide comments but would like to view the meeting, you may do so in one of the following ways. YouTube Live, you can visit the city's YouTube channel. Cable broadcast, we're on Comcast Channel 28 in Incorporated Walnut Creek, Rossmore Channel 26, Wave Channel 1028, and AT&T Uverse Channel 99. You can also live stream us on the city's website. At this time, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Darling.
Here.
Councilmember Haskew.
Here.
Councilmember Wilk.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Silva.
Here.
Mayor Francois.
Here. Great. Next, the oath of office to Ian McLaughlin, who will be our representative on the Central Contra Costa Transit Authority Advisory Committee. Welcome and thank you, Ian.
Okay, Ian, you can go ahead and unmute and please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Ian McLaughlin,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you very much. Ian, would you like to share some words with the council and the audience?
I would very much. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members. I apologize that I am not able to be there in person. I was very much looking forward to coming into City Hall again and seeing some old friends. But literally 1 minute before we were about to leave the house, my wife, who has been feeling sick, tested positive for COVID.
Oh,
So
no.
this is the world that we live in now, and it has to be done via Zoom, which is fine. But I would like to take a moment to thank you, Mayor and council members, for appointing me to this position. I am very happy to be back into community service. I was upset that I had to resign from the Pros Commission in 2017 in the immediate aftermath of my debilitating strokes. But I'm very, very happy to be reappointed to a community service position. And this one is very near and dear to my heart because now I have to use the County Connection Paratransit as my means of independent transportation. So I'm looking forward to the privilege and honor of serving the residents of our city again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for stepping up to serve your community again, Ian. We're so pleased and honored that you've done so, and we look forward to receiving your reports on a quarterly basis and seeing you down at City Hall when you're all healthy and COVID-free.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I have 1 minute to say something else that's more of a public comment?
Absolutely.
I just wanted, since I have a public forum, I would be remiss not to mention something you might not have been aware of, that May is National Stroke Awareness Month. And stroke remains one of the leading causes of death and disability in the United States. Of course, I was in my 40s and healthy when I was on a business trip across the country and suffered multiple strokes unexpectedly due to a dissected artery in my neck. That was just bad luck and an anomaly, but it's not likely to recur for me, thank goodness. But I wanted to take a moment to mention that I hope the city can promote the FAST test for field test for recognizing signs that somebody might be having a stroke. It's an acronym that's easily looked up on Google. The acronym is FAST, and sometimes Be Fast with an extra B on it. And that's a test that was used on me when I started having a small stroke and literally saved my life. So I would like to spread the word about that.
I really appreciate you doing that, and I think it's so important that people understand the signs and respond quickly. And so thank you for sharing that message. All right, have a nice evening, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
You're welcome, and thank you again. And I know you have a packed agenda. Get to work and do some good for the city of Walnut Creek again. Thank you.
We'll do our best. You do the same. Take care. Next on our agenda is a proclamation recognizing May as Jewish American Heritage Month. we have some representatives from some local synagogues that I'm going to invite up after I read the proclamation, and I have a signed proclamation for each of you. Thank you for coming. And I'll read the proclamation first, and then I'll recognize the members from the synagogues. Whereas Jewish Americans have been an important part of the American story and have greatly contributed to all areas of American life and culture since our nation's earliest days, whereas on April 20th, 2006, the federal government proclaimed May as Jewish American Heritage Month, stating, as a nation of immigrants, the United States is better and stronger because Jewish people from all over the world have chosen to become American citizens, and since then, proclamations in support of Jewish American Heritage Month have been made of the president by the presidents of the United States annually. Whereas generations of Jews have fled to the United States in search of a better life for themselves and their families, and these immigrants make invaluable contributions in support of equality and civil rights through their leadership and achievements, whereas Jewish Americans contribute to their connect to their Jewish identity in a variety of ways, culturally, ethnically, religiously, and by following Jewish ethics and values. Whereas Jewish Americans are racially, ethnically, socially, politically, and economically diverse, with approximately 12 to 15% of Jews in the United States being individuals of color. Whereas in the United States whereas in the Bay Area, around 25% of Bay Area Jewish households include a person of color, and this increases to nearly 40% of households if the head of household is younger than 35. Whereas in recent years, Jewish Americans have increasingly experienced anti-Semitism, including but not limited to physical attacks, vandalism, verbal and physical harassment, and hateful comments posted on social media. Whereas the city of Walnut Creek shares an obligation to condemn and combat anti-Semitism wherever it exists, to include Jewish Americans in all facets of civic life, and to stand with the Jewish American community against hatred or bigotry in our city and country. Whereas there is a need for education and policies that are culturally competent when describing, discussing, or addressing the impacts of being Jewish on all aspects of American society, including discourse and policy. And whereas we celebrate the rich and diverse heritage of the Jewish American community, including those who live, work, and play in Walnut Creek, now therefore, I, Matt Francois, Mayor of the City of Walnut Creek, on behalf of the Walnut Creek City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Jewish American Heritage Month in appreciation of the achievements and contributions made by members of the Jewish community. I encourage residents to celebrate Jewish Americans who have woven the fabric of our country and community, and support opportunities to learn more about Jewish American history and culture. And with that, I would like to invite, perhaps one at a time, if possible, representatives of B'nai Shalom. And please, you can, if you'd come to the lectern and introduce yourself and tell us about your congregation and more about your experience, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Councilors. My name is Stuart Kirsch. I'm the Executive Director of Congregation B'nai Shalom, located on Eckley Lane. We have been in the community since the 1960s. We are a 300-family conservative synagogue, and we have a preschool, a religious school, an active community, and we're very blessed to be part of the Walnut Creek community. Thank you.
Well, we're blessed, and thank you for coming. I bring my proclamation. Thank you, Mr. Hirsch. Thank you for coming. Okay, next up, I'd like to invite representatives of Chabad Contra Costa.
Hello, my name is Rabbi Dov Berkowitz. I'm here together with my wife and co-director, Mrs. Chaya Berkowitz. We direct the Chabad of Contra Costa, that's right down the road on Newell Avenue. Chabad of Contra Costa was established in Walnut Creek by the director that came before me, Rabbi Yaakov Kagan, in 1996. We have a thriving community, and we have a full preschool. We're perhaps most well known for the public menorah lighting that we do right here in Broadway Plaza. We had the honor of having, well, was then Mayor Wilk, help us lighting the menorah. So we definitely enjoy and are privileged to be in such a beautiful city, the city of Walnut Creek. This month is a month which traditionally Jewish people count. There's actually a tradition to count from Passover to the next holiday, and every day we're counting. When we count those days, instead of saying today is the 17th day, we say today is 17 days. And the message is a very clear message that we don't move through time, but we build through time. And whatever we have today is due to those that came before us, and we're meant to make that impact, take from the best of those that came before us, create the best impact we could to create the best future for those that come after us. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you very much for coming. And then we also have a representative of Congregation B'nai Tikva. Welcome.
Hello, Mayor and members of City Council. I'm Jennifer Leeds. I'm on the Board of Trustees for Congregation B'nai Tikva. We are about a 300-member family congregation on Hillcroft Way up on the top of the hill. We are a Reform Judaism congregation, and we welcome members of all denominations. We're, I think, most well-known for our beautiful services, our amazing rabbi/singer, Jenny Shaban, and we have a religious school, lots of different committees. We are LGBTQ plus friendly, and Mayor Wilk and his family, or former Mayor Wilk, sorry, and his family are members of our congregation. So I'm delighted to be here to accept the.
We're delighted to have you.
Thank you.
It was actually Rabbi Jenny Shaban who performed and read the benediction at our Memorial Day ceremony last year as well.
Very nice. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for representing our city so well. We're pleased and honored to have you as members and your congregations as members of our community. And thank you for coming down and being recognized. Next on the agenda is our consent calendar. Does any council member wish to pull any item for discussion? I'm not seeing any, and so does,
Actually, I'm sorry, I will pull item 2D.
okay. 2D is pulled. Would any member of the public like to address the council on an item that's on the consent calendar? If so, and if you're here in person, please approach the lectern. If you're joining us by Zoom tonight, you can raise your hand or press *9 if you're connected by audio only, if you'd like to provide a comment on any of the items that are on the consent calendar.
Mayor, I don't see any Zoom hands raised.
Okay, so no public comment on the consent calendar.
May I make a motion?
Please.
I move that we accept consent calendar item number 2, A through C and E.
Second.
And Amy, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Haskew.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Silva.
Aye.
Councilmember Darling.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilk.
Aye.
Mayor Francois.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, we'll move to item 2D, which is waiving the first reading and introducing an ordinance on the single-use foodware accessories and condiments.
So I have nothing specifically, nothing objectionable at all about this. In fact, I just wanted to highlight that Walnut Creek has continued to be on the forefront of green movements and of environmentally friendly areas, everything from banning plastic bags and among the first in the state to do that, to banning plastic straws, single-use plastic straws. And now, as we'll hear about later in my report, that the state has taken a position on for single-use items. I'm really proud that Walnut Creek, again, is on the forefront of this. And as we know, climate and sustainability action are one of our priorities, and this dovetails right in with that. And again, great to see Walnut Creek taking a leadership position in this, and I'll make the motion to approve.
I have a question. Could the city attorney clarify? This is, because this might look to the public like we didn't have a hearing on it and it's on the consent calendar. This is really a regulatory compliance measure?
That is correct. Because the ordinance that is before you today is adopting by reference some state law provisions, we are required to introduce the ordinance and actually hold the public hearing at what is normally our second reading of the ordinance. So there will be a full public hearing on this item at the next meeting, and then the council will be able to adopt it. This evening, you're waiving reading and introducing the ordinance.
So this applies across the state?
Correct, exactly.
And I would be happy to second this. I think this agenda item and 2E on the consent calendar, where we're replacing vehicles with electric vehicles, are both an example of our commitment to sustainability.
Thank you for acknowledging that. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wilk?
Aye.
Councilmember Darling?
Aye.
Councilmember Haskew?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Silva?
Aye.
Mayor Francois?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks, Amy. Next on the agenda is public communications. This portion of the meeting is reserved for comments on items that are not on the agenda. Under the State Brown Act, the council cannot act on items raised during public communications, but may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed, request clarification, or refer the item to staff. Consistent with Section 9.5 of the City Council Handbook, 30 minutes will be allocated at this time for public communications for items not on the agenda. Additional time for public communications for items not on the agenda will be provided at the end of the meeting if necessary. If you're joining us by Zoom and would like to provide comment on an item that's not on the agenda, please use the raised hand feature or press *9 if you're connected by audio only. And of course, if you're here in the chambers, please fill out a yellow speaker card and approach the lectern. At this time, I will note that the time is 6:22, and we will take public comment on items not on the agenda until approximately 6:52, and then the remainder of any such comments at the end of the open session portion of the meeting. Please note that in-person comments will be accepted prior to remote comments, and I would ask, I'm not seeing anyone in the chamber coming forward to approach us during public communication, so I'd ask our city clerk if we have anyone on Zoom.
Yes, we do. I'll go ahead and bring over Linda D.
Hey there, this is Linda DeChambeau. I am with Contra Costa County Climate Leaders, former mayor of Moraga. I serve on the East Bay Regional Park District and have worked with a number of groups in Contra Costa County. And I just wanted to commend you tonight for those two items on your consent agenda, the one you pulled, and definitely taking a leadership role on sustainability and addressing the climate crisis. I did want to also tonight ask Walnut Creek to really put some of that in force by considering passing a climate emergency resolution, which many cities are doing in our own county. The county board of supervisors have done that, as has Richmond and Martinez, and I've come before you and asked for that as well. And I do think that's something that still could be done front and center. As pointed out, Walnut Creek has been a leader in the past, and we ask you to do that forward, particularly in your housing element update. We ask you to keep the climate crisis front and center, looking at electrifying all new buildings and making sure we don't flush our toilets with high quality drinking water by putting purple pipe or gray water in your houses going forward as well. Also, you were one of the first cities to develop a strong climate action plan and is in much need of updating, as well as a greenhouse gas inventory with clear measurable goals and measures. Really, it's important for the city of Walnut Creek to stay on top of this important issue. And I just ask you to consider those important legislative items, the climate emergency, the housing element and general plan update, and updating your climate action plan. And thank you for all you're doing to improve our community and making it sustainable for future generations.
Thank you for your comments, Linda.
Our next speaker is BG.
Hello, my name is Barbara Guinness, and I've been a resident of Walnut Creek since 1996. I wanted to say that I appreciated the responses to my question in your April 19th City Council meeting, where I was talking about the funding that Public Works wanted to use to hire a consultant in May 2022 as a next step for the proposed high-speed mountain bike flow trail in Lime Ridge. Mayor Pro Tem Silva spoke with the city manager and stated, I think she was asking this consulting work would come to council for approval. But the city manager said it would depend upon the dollar amount for the consulting agreement. If it was, let's say, $30,000, the director of public works can approve that. If it was $85,000, the city manager can approve that. And then I think the mayor asked if the Parks and Rec budget was going to be used, and the city manager said the Public Works budget was going to be used. So it sounds like this means that up to $115,000 can be spent on a contract for a consultant without approval by city council. So I wondered, how often can the Public Works director and the city manager spend this amount of money? They do it once a year, twice a year, or whenever they feel it is needed until, I suppose, their total budget is depleted. I was curious about that. And I believe the city is on a 2-year budget that goes from July of 21 to June of 23. The city, maybe the city manager can answer this, or another person. Please advise what the specific bucket is that the Public Works director or the city manager can draw funds from up to $115,000 to pay for this consultant, I suppose, if they chose to, or if that's how much it'll cost or more or whatever. So I think there's budgets for parks, open space and trails, infrastructure repairs, and then there's ones for just open space repairs, different amounts of money. So I was just curious what budget.
Thank you, Ms. Guinness. Do we have any other members who would like to address the council during public communications?
There are no additional Zoom speakers raised hand.
Okay, then we'll close public comment during that, during public communications. Does any member of the council have any clarifying questions of the city manager or staff?
Yeah, city manager, I'm not sure you can aggregate all the amounts. Would you please respond to some of the issues?
Sure, yeah. Actually, what I would recommend, if Ms. Guinness would like more detail, we can have someone from the Public Works Department contact her to talk through purchasing guidelines and how that process works in more detail, as opposed to going through the details at the moment.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Then we'll move on to council member and staff announcements, reports on activities or requests. The first item here is closed session announcements. We did have a closed session this afternoon. The topic of the closed session was our city manager evaluation. The bottom line is we are extremely pleased with our city manager's evaluation and look forward to him continuing to serve us and the residents of this fair city for not only the next year, but hopefully for many years to come. And with that, I'll turn over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, on both accounts, and appreciate that. 2 announcements this evening. The first is that there is, as far as our wildfire preparedness and response, there is a small dress rehearsal evacuation plan for Rossmore on the morning of Sunday, May 15th. It will be for one of the mutuals. About a couple hundred people will be asked to practice that evacuation. There was a community meeting this last Wednesday on April 27th, and about 500 people attended, a mix of in-person and virtually. There were 7 or 8 different organizations, ranging obviously from the city, Golden Rain Foundation, the fire department, Red Cross, and others, to share some insights about all the preparation that has occurred over many years to prepare broadly throughout Walnut Creek and the region, but also specifically for Rossmore, recognizing there are 10,000 residents in Rossmore. So that will be upcoming, will be an important practice for not only the residents, but our first responders as well. And then secondly, I would just note, holding up this card here, if you have received your survey in the mail related to city council and city priorities, to please send that in. We are interested in hearing from the community regarding your thoughts on the future of Walnut Creek and maintaining the high quality of life that we have here. And so far, we have received a lot of responses, so I'd encourage everybody to please keep that up. That's it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks for that report. And now I'll turn to my council colleagues. How about Councilmember Darling? Lead things off.
Thank you. It has actually been a very busy couple weeks. We are back in the red ribbon cutting business full-time. Tiki Tom's and the Lamborghini dealer, I had the fun of enjoying Tiki Tom's new tropical beverages with Councilmember Wilk and my Cindy partner here. We got to hold the red ribbon for the Lamborghini dealer, and then we got to play how much does that car cost, and neither one of us were in the right ballpark for that. I did get to tour Copa, the soccer facility with the Visit Walnut Creek folks. They were looking at opportunities to use that facility to help boost hotel, and it's an amazing facility. I was really impressed with that. It is also gala and dinner time, and I was many of us attended the Walnut Creek downtown dinner, and that was quite enjoyable. And thank you very much for Brian Hirohara for hosting that and the sponsors for the Library Authors Gala. And so that was two great chances to enjoy Brian's hospitality. In addition to the survey, we're all out there talking to all of our friends, neighbors, cohorts, and Mayor Francois and I decided that we are introverts because those things are fun, but yet it's exhausting. So I've gotten to do a lot of those. And then we had the public education subcommittee today, and we talked to the Youth Leadership Commission about an agenda item that'll be coming to you. They want to have youth leadership representation on a couple of the commissions, and that will be coming back to the council. But the last thing I wanted to say is it is Mother's Day this weekend, and my kids are the joy of my life, and they're wonderful, and I have enjoyed being a mother. But we all saw in the news last night that part of the world there's some changes coming that are quite disturbing to many of us, because while I was lucky to have my kids at a time where I was financially, mentally, physically capable of having them, many of my friends and coworkers and family members through the years have faced pregnancies where they could not carry the pregnancy to term. It was a pregnancy that was not going to be successful. They were not emotionally or mentally prepared for it. And they've had that protection of Roe v. Wade for 50 years. And it's heartbreaking to think that going forward, my daughter and her friends might not have that important safeguard. It's something that we all want to see safe. We want to see it available. We do want to see it rare. We want people to not have to have it, but it's an important safety valve for many of my friends and family and coworkers have enjoyed. And we're looking at a terrible time.
Thank you, Councilmember Darling. Mayor Pro Tem Silva.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Darling, for sharing your thoughts. And I know there are differing points of view, and so we also recognize that this is a place for dialogue on differing points of view. There is a lot happening in the community. One thing I will reinforce and emphasize is that in my recent meeting at the Rossmore Golden Rain Foundation Board, the hot topic that they were so excited about was that the city is working with the public safety people at Rossmore and the Golden Rain Foundation on this evacuation drill. It is really important to determine how could you successfully evacuate an entire community of 10,000 people. The best way to figure that out is to really try it out and really test it and experiment with it in an early morning evacuation drill in Rossmore. It's a small number of people. People must register, so if you're watching on television this evening and you hear this, please be sure that you register if you want to participate, because it is a limited number of people that can participate. But we are excited about being able to do this and then learn from it so that we can be better prepared to support the Rossmore community as well as the rest of our community in case of a wildfire evacuation or any other need to evacuate a neighborhood. My colleague mentioned that we had the opportunity of visiting with the Lamborghini dealership. last Friday night. And it is a very high-end auto dealership, and we are fortunate that we have it in the community. But we're also fortunate that we have so many auto sales and service dealerships in this community. It is a component and a key component of our economic vitality and one of our key business sectors. So thank you to all of those in that industry. And wish I could afford to buy a Lamborghini, but it would make a lot of noise, and that would just be another issue. I had the opportunity on Saturday, April 23rd, to stop by Broadway Plaza where they were supporting Earth Day, and there were booths. And I want to thank staff from the City of Walnut Creek for the booth that you all had out there that day on sustainability measures. Also, the Recycle Smart and Republic Services had a booth. And also thank Broadway Plaza for sponsoring the booth and helping us send the message of the importance of sustainability and caring for our environment through our community. The Walnut Creek Sister Cities International had a spring event a couple of Sundays ago. The group was hoping to be able to restart the exchange program with our local youth between our two sister cities, Noceto in Italy and Schiafolk in Hungary. And after much back and forth, they both, given the situation, not only with COVID, but also a war in Europe, respectfully said, we're going to try again in the future, but not this year. So unfortunately, we will not be able to restart the program quite yet, but we look forward to it. At the recent meeting of Recycle Smart, which is officially legally the Central Contra Costa Solid Waste Authority, we approved our budget for the coming year, and we also discussed and agreed as a board that we would continue our and extend our franchise agreement with Mount Diablo Resource and Recovery for the recycling portion of our contract for waste reduction, and that we would notify Republic Services of our expectation that we would extend the contract from 10 years, which would expire in 2025, to 2027, so it would be a 12-year agreement. This would give us adequate opportunity as the authority organization to really analyze how the landfill, green waste, and recycling industries are moving. There are a lot of changes in it, and it gives us an opportunity to really assess that before we go into seek a new agreement with various vendors. The Chamber of Commerce had its monthly business event last Thursday evening, and it was at the community room at the Ave Apartments. And it was interesting to be able to come back together with people and have dialogue about things coming forward in the business community. And I think one of the things that people were pulling on my ear about is really there was thanks from the chamber for our decision as a council to hire HDL to do some financial work for us, and also to pursue those that may not be paying their bills, either in business licenses or in the transit occupancy task or any other, and the short-term rental opportunities that may be out there for us. So I pass that along to staff. Before I close, I will mention that last week, our 7 policy committees at the League of California Cities had their quarterly meetings, and they discussed a variety of legislation which is coming forward in Sacramento. Councilmember Wilk serves on the Environmental Quality Committee, and Councilmember Haskew serves on the Revenue and Taxation Committee. And they had robust discussions during their meetings, and a number of items that they discussed last week will be coming to the State Board of Cal Cities next week at our board meeting. So thank you two, for your work on those policy committees. Those committees actually have about 450 members representing all of the plethora of different types of cities across the state of California. And finally, I will mention that next week we will be in Sacramento meeting with our legislators and the governor's administration, advocating for priorities for cities, one of which is a proposal to seek a $500 million in funding from the state for a new program in which the state would be able to partner with our cities to help fund those cities that are willing to take on tax increment financing and to use those funds for affordable housing, economic development, and infrastructure. It's a little bit like redevelopment, I'll call it 3.0, because we we've already zipped past 2.0 and couldn't really make it work. So this is an important thing for us to be advocating for, and I look forward to doing that next week. And thank you, Mayor, for the time.
That's great. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Will.
Thank you, Mayor. And so in addition to some of the ribbon cuttings and the membership events and fun evenings out, yesterday had the opportunity along with the mayor to attend Las Lomas, and we got to go to school and spoke to their government classes. This is always enjoyable to do. We do it a couple of times a year and try to add in the high schools in the area for this, and just talking about what it means, what local government means, and civic affairs, and adding into everything they learn about their state and federal elections. But local, of course, handles 99% of everything they do. So that was great, and appreciate you joining me on that one. Also, the mayor and I are the council representatives for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusivity Task Force. We met last week and came up with a list of ideas which can be implemented in the near to medium terms. We'll be fleshing these out in the meetings to come, but a few that we can quickly implement will be things like the proclamation for Juneteenth that'll be coming up, along with some education about what that means, and collaborate with the employee internal DEI task force. So those are some of the immediate things. But there's a whole list that came up, and we'll be hearing more about those and discussing more of those in the months to come. I sit on the board of directors for County Connection, and I can't remember if it was the last, I think it was the last meeting I mentioned about how we were talking about voting on zero-emission buses and how we were going to be moving forward with that. Well, we did have the vote, and the board voted to approve purchasing new vehicles to be a combination of electric buses and hydrogen fuel cells. So it's not just one or the other, it's a combination of them both. Primarily, that's due to the investment already made in 8 electric buses and charging stations at the depot and at Walnut Creek BART. So we wanted to continue to at least make sure that we were getting use out of those. And the consensus is that technology will continue to improve and reduce costs in the future as needed. So I'm really happy, again, these green initiatives and climate action, we're moving forward on that, and we're going to be seeing more of these buses in our region. In addition, 501 Contra Costa will be able to provide discounts for students from June through August for unlimited rides for $30, and parents can get those passes online at 511.org. I also sit on the Environmental Quality Policy Committee, as Mayor Pro Tem Silva had mentioned, for the California League of Cities, and our meeting from last Friday had some important information for the community at large. We're in a drought, no surprise there. And we got some really stark figures showing that large-scale urban water use restrictions in Southern California are going to be happening due to the infrastructure limitations. We're also seeing record low Oroville elevation in 2021 and the power plant being unable to generate the water it typically provides. These are going to be impacting all of us. And just to give a quick little snapshot and idea of what we're dealing with, 70% of the statewide snowpack in 2021 was comparable to the 2014-2015 winter, where we only had 5% snowpack. So 70% versus that 5%, and yet the runoff was the same because the ground was so dry, it sucked up all the water. And so we are recognizing that this is something we need to make wholesale changes, and we're hearing about this from the governor and our state representatives. There's going to be a lot more to follow on this. We did vote to recommend to the Cal Cities Board to support an initiative known as the California Recycling and Plastic Pollution Reduction Act. It would require all single-use plastic packaging and foodware used in California to be recyclable, reusable, refillable, or compostable by 2030, and single-use plastic production to be reduced by 25% by 2030. And this dovetails with item 2D tonight, as I mentioned before, which we approved, which is the statewide law. Currently, 85% of single-use plastics are not recycled, and single-use plastics make up 50% of plastic waste. So more on that one. We hope that the board then supports that to the state. We also took a position of recommending the Board of Cal Cities to support AB 2878 on the Forest Biomass Waste Utilization Program. This measure would increase the use of forest waste biomass for energy regeneration and wood products manufacturing. So essentially what it's doing is we are helping to clear, thin the forests, but you can't just leave the biomass that's produced there and let it decay, which does emit emissions that are harmful to our atmosphere. And you can't just burn it because that's also harmful. And so this is a way to be able to increase the amount of facilities that will allow this, this biomass to be used for energy. And lastly, I just wanted to mention that June 7th is the California primary. There's lots of county candidates for offices. That sometimes gets overlooked when it's not a presidential year, when you have senators on the ballot. We, of course, do have our congressmen on the ballot, as well as our state representatives. But these county representatives, just like your city council, these are the ones that impact your lives on a daily basis. It's important to vote. Voting matters. As we just saw last night, as Councilmember Darling mentioned, voting matters. Make sure that you're registered, make sure that you vote, and any new 18-year-olds, make sure they're registered too. That's my report.
Thank you. I hope you don't mind, Senator Padilla, and there is a plethora of senator candidates,
You're actually-
U.S. senator candidates on there, so I don't want anybody to miss that on the ballot.
Thank you for correcting me. Absolutely. Senator Padilla is on the ballot. You're absolutely right. Actually, he's on the ballot twice.
All right, we've got a packed ballot. Please vote. Just vote once, but definitely vote. Don't stop just at senator. Keep working down the ballot. And I'll turn now to Councilmember Haskew.
Thank you. I kind of spent my time worrying about money. It was different pots of money, but it was money just the same. So the most important measure that we were looking at Contra Costa Transportation Authority is to approve the budget for the congestion management plan. At the accessible transportation thing, we spent money, time approving additional funds to support the updated One Seat, One Ride program, or otherwise known as One Call and One Click. And then finally, we formalized the Measure X funding that the county has allotted to us. At the Revenue and Tax Committee, the item that has had the most attention for a long period of time is the allocation of sales tax between the cities that have the distribution centers and largely get a lot of tax that we used to get when we were only operating out of brick and mortar stores. We have the emphasis on this issue at this meeting is that we need to come up with something that honors both sides, that a lot of cities are dependent on the distribution facilities and the deals they've worked out with Amazon and similar ilk. And the rest of us are saying, well, wait a minute, you know, we have people buying without our people buying in Walnut Creek. Y'all wouldn't have any tax, we deserve some of it. So we're going to, there's a managers committee and they're looking for a reasonable compromise so that no one city is left high and dry. And while we all bragged about the fact that we had a gala for the sponsors of the library gala, we forgot to tell people there is a gala that everybody can come to if they buy their tickets, and that would be on the 5th. The gala is on the 14th of May, a Saturday night, and would they please go to the website, the library's website, and have that information there. And Ruth Bancroft Garden has a gala coming up. So in Walnut Creek, there is no shortage of parties to celebrate our nonprofits and our groups that make so big a difference in our community. I'm going to give you a break and not give you a driving chide.
Okay. Well, and we've all been busy, and I have been as well these last few weeks. I attended the Walnut Creek Downtown membership event hosted by Mr. Hirohara. Thank you, and thank you to Kathy Hemingway for a fun evening. It was nice to see a lot of people there and to have the full council in attendance and demonstrating our commitment to our downtown vendors and to Walnut Creek Downtown. After that event, I had the opportunity to present and meet several of our youth leadership commissioners. I attended their meeting here at City Hall, And it was really fun to connect with them over an hour, hour and a half. I got asked kind of every question under the sun. I had been a youth commissioner for the city of Campbell, where I grew up, and just comparing and contrasting their experience with mine and how much, how smarter they are, how much more on top of it they are, and focused and driven was really encouraging to see. They did not well, they guessed my favorite cereal, which was Apple Jacks, but they asked me, what is your favorite potato chip? And I said, Cool Ranch Doritos. So they did not guess that, but I skunked them on that one. Along with the city manager and our economic development manager and Angela Sui, who's new to our team and really making a positive influence, we've started a business visitation program. We met with the owner of Calicraft, Blaine Landberg, who's a Cal grad, knew from the time that he was 14 that he wanted to brew beer, and has a successful microbrewery operation out in the Shadelands. Calicraft, that we're so proud, is headquartered in Walnut Creek and has expansion plans and plans to set down roots and be here for the future. Got to meet him and his whole team. He told us that when he was at Berkeley, he wrote his a paper or thesis about Walnut Creek and urban studies and kind of how he his vision to make Shadelands kind of a model, because he views Walnut Creek as a model urban city, and that was cool to hear about. We also had the pleasure to meet with the leadership team at Del Monte Foods, who many may not know is also headquartered out in the Shadelands. And there were samples. There weren't samples at Calicraft, unfortunately, but there were samples at Del Monte. They've pioneered actually boba tea in a cup that is sold in grocery stores and Target. They're one of the first companies that have perfected that technology, and they're using it in other food products so they're really at the cutting edge, and the people that are being employed out there are everything from, engineers to MBAs. It's really it's exactly the type of company that we want to see in Walnut Creek, because it provides so many great job opportunities for everyone with a lot of people with different advanced degrees. So really fun to meet with those folks, and we appreciated them hosting us. Councilmember Wilk gave the good update about the DEI task force. I would just point out as well that on May 17th, we'll be adopting a proclamation recognizing June as Pride Month and flying the Pride flag for the month of June. The next day, I believe, I was on a local government panel at Monta Vista High School and had the opportunity to connect with some young people that were on my son's soccer teams. I hadn't seen in a while, and got a lot of questions about housing and growth and traffic and how the city manages all that. They were also very concerned and interested about class sizes in Monta Vista and how young people can become more involved in local government generally, and I talked about our Youth Leadership Commission and the experience there. Mayor Pro Tem Silva mentioned the Recycle Smart Board meeting, where with the franchise agreement, and we approved the operation fund and reuse budget. Then we had a quarterly meeting, maybe the next morning. It's been a busy 2 weeks. With all the commission chairs and vice chairs. So we as a council don't do all this work alone. We have a lot of help from dedicated volunteers. We have an Arts Commission, a Transportation Commission, Planning Commission, Design Review Commission, and these quarterly updates are the opportunity for us to have bacon, but also to sit down and talk and hear about what they've been working on over the past quarter. And so of relevance to the council, we'll be hearing a few items that the Design Review Commission has heard. The Oakmont Assisted Living, which we're familiar with because that was before us a year or so ago, and the Walden Garden Townhomes, which is in an overlay zone. Also a lot happening in the Arts Commission and with the Veterans Memorial we're aware of just outside City Hall is being refurbished and should be up and running relatively soon here. The Walnut Creek, the artwork that's going in at the Walnut Creek Transit Village is almost complete, as are some new murals at the John Muir Cancer Center, also out at the Shadelands. Let's see. I think that's all I had on the quarterly updates. Then Mayor Pro Tem Silva and I attended the Diablo Symphony's Jubilee Gala, again, another gala that was held out at the Event Center at Rossmore this last weekend, and we got to polish off some of our auctioneering skills and decided that we needed a lot of work in that regard, that we won't quit our day jobs. Councilmember Wilk mentioned the visit to Las Lomas High School government classes yesterday, and again, just really impressed with the young people in our community and some of the questions they had for us, you know, ranging from how do I get involved, why should I vote for a revenue measure if I don't benefit from the exact things that are in the revenue measure, and what do you or two are so busy, what do you do to take care of your mental health? So it was encouraging to hear, you know, the young people be that connected to us and be concerned about the issues that we're concerned about as well. I attended the board meeting as a liaison to Sister Cities last night, and as Mayor Pro Tem Silva, unfortunately, the YAY program will not be taking place this year. And we sincerely hope that it'll resume sometime soon, but they're planning some type of fun event in June that hopefully will be well attended by current and past members of the Sister Cities Board. And then Councilmember Darling mentioned the Public Education Committee meeting and the Seat at the Table initiative, which will be coming to the council for consideration maybe next month. That's my report. So let's see, we'll move on here to our public hearing item. Next on the agenda is a public hearing item entitled Public Hearing Regarding Proposed Adoption of Ordinance for Modification of Assessment Rates for the Downtown Walnut Creek Business Improvement District and the Downtown Walnut Creek South Business Improvement District. This was an ordinance that was introduced on April 19th, 2022. I want to take a moment to explain the process for the public hearing on this item. In order for the city to modify the assessment rates for the business improvement districts, the city council must first conduct a public hearing at which it must hear and consider all protests for or against modifying the district assessment rate. If at the conclusion of the public hearing there are of record written protests by the owners of business within the district that will collectively pay 50% or more of the district assessment, no further proceedings to modify the district shall occur for a period of 1 year from the date of the finding of a majority protest by the council. In the absence of a majority protest, the council may proceed to direct staff to place a proposed ordinance on the city council's May 17th, 2022 meeting agenda for final adoption. Let's see, at this time, I will open the public hearing. I believe we're going to have a staff report first, though. Is that correct?
We do want the staff report on as part of the public record for the public hearing. So
Okay, so please, staff report.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Angela Sway, Economic Development Project Manager. This item is a continuation of the process we brought before you on April 19th, 2022, to modify the bid and SBID assessments rates with a 10% increase. Tonight is the public hearing and the opportunity for the public to provide comments. The bid and SBID rates were last increased in 2019. The increase of approximately $24,000 of additional assessment revenues will provide the ability for continued management and funding for beautification, marketing, promotional events, and special projects in the downtown area. I will now invite Kathy Hemingway, Executive Director of WCD, to provide a presentation for further details. Thank you.
Good evening, Kathy Hemingway with Walnut Creek Downtown. I wanted to share the table of the bid rates that are currently in effect for our Downtown Business Association. And then also, as you know, both the bid is divided up into two sections. So we have the north bid and then the south bid, which is called the S bid. So this is the current table on your, well, under current assessment. Those are the rates for our businesses based on square footage. And the 10% increase is the next column. And then following that is the new rate that would be assessed on an annual basis. And then this is the scale for the south bid. Again, the current assessments in the third column with the 10% increase, annual increase for just this year, and then the new rate in the final column. And as Angela mentioned, it'll be an increase which would total about $24,000. And those funds will be used to basically continue our business and be able to increase the production costs. We're already finding that some of our event costs are looking like they're going up about 30 to 40%. And then also assisting with two larger public events that would help increase visitors to the downtown, which would include bringing back Restaurant Week in June, and then also bringing back a, what was the next one? Oh, the tree lighting in the holiday, during the holiday season that would take place in Civic Park. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Ms. Hemingway or Ms. Sui? Not seeing any. Thank you for good staff report. So at this time, I will open the public hearing and remind folks that written protests must be received by the city clerk at or before this time, the time fixed for the public hearing. I invite anyone with an undelivered written protest to present it to the city clerk immediately. No further written protests will be accepted. If any member of the public wishes to provide public comments, please approach the lectern and fill out a yellow speaker card, or raise your hand and press *9 if you're connected by audio only. As a reminder, each speaker will have 2 minutes to make their oral remarks. And I'll turn to the city clerk and ask if there are any persons wishing to provide public comments.
No bid protests have been received, and council may proceed with the item.
And we have no one on Zoom wishing to provide public comments?
No, we do not.
Okay. I would just say once again, I invite anyone with an undelivered written protest to present it now to the city clerk. No further written protests will be accepted. I don't believe we're getting any written protests tonight. So I will go ahead and close the public comment period and turn to my colleagues for a motion or deliberation or discussion.
In the absence of a majority protest, I move to direct staff to place the ordinance, which was introduced at our April 19th, 2022 meeting, that amends Chapter 7 of Title 8 of the Walnut Creek Municipal Code to alter the method and basis for levying assessments to both the bid and south bid districts, and to place it on the City Council agenda for May 17, 2022 for final adoption.
Second.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Silva,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilk,
Aye.
Councilmember Darling,
Aye.
Councilmember Haskew,
Aye.
Mayor Francois.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Terrific. Thank you all. Next is a consideration item, approval of assessment reports and annual levy of assessments for the downtown Walnut Creek Business Improvement District and downtown Walnut Creek South Business Improvement District for fiscal year 2022 to 2023 and setting public hearings. And I would, at this time, I'd invite Angela Sui, Economic Development Project Manager, to provide the staff presentation.
Thank you. Hello again, Angela Sway, Economic Development Project Manager. This item is the annual renewal of the bid and SBID and the intent to levy the assessments for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. This process entails that council do the following: adopt resolutions approving the assessment reports for both the bid and SBID, adopt resolutions of intention to levy assessments for fiscal year 2022 and 2023 for the bid and SBID, and set a public hearing for both the bid and SBID on May 17th, 2022. Kathy Hemingway, Executive Director of WCD, is here tonight to present on the bid and SBID activities for the last fiscal year and can answer questions regarding the assessment reports, which are attachments 1 and 2 for tonight's agenda report. Thank you.
you, Angela. And good evening again, Kathy Hemingway, Executive Director with Walnut Creek Downtown. And this evening I'll be here to share our annual report for fiscal year 21-22, and then share priorities and budget for fiscal year 22-23. So Walnut Creek Downtown's 4 pillars include marketing, events, advocacy, and beautification. And our mission statement is to lead and collaborate with our members, partners, and community to promote and enhance downtown Walnut Creek. A 16-member board of directors comprised of property owners, retailers, restaurateurs, and service providers is responsible for setting the Walnut Creek Downtown priorities and policies, while the Walnut Creek Downtown management team oversees the organization's day-to-day operations. And we have 2 new team members at Walnut Creek Downtown. We have Donna Labriola, is our events and community relations manager, and Kelly McCandless is the administrative and event coordination assistant. We also recently brought on an intern, Carly Trapani, who's joining us to assist with programming and events. And we're currently working with 1 less full-time person, but hope to add more staff over the next year or so as budgeting permits. One of our strongest member benefits is our advocacy program. The association acts as an advocate for its members, addressing topics that directly affect their business. And Walnut Creek Downtown regularly participates in these community meetings to share the voice of its business members. This year, we have continued the successful online webinar business education series covering topics important to the business community. This is a list of some of the seminar topics that we've brought to our business members, and we've had engaged experts to share their best practices with all of our downtown businesses. Last year, we took on a major marketing effort when we were not putting on large-scale public events. We took that time and effort to convert our 20-year-old website to a more current WordPress format. So not only is this format much more appealing and functional, but it can also be easily maintained in-house. And so we're enjoying the quick updates that we're able to provide versus a contracted webmaster. We view this site as an important resource for our business community, visitors, and community partners. The homepage features ads for multiple events and programs, a welcome from Mayor Francois, paid ads, and featured business sections. And so our staff spent a lot of time developing the business directories for each of our downtown businesses, and we continue to update those as needed. So each downtown business does have presence on our website. And other highlights of the site includes web pages dedicated to local hotels, planning a day downtown, arts and culture, and a section for our downtown residents. We've seen great success since the website was launched in, I think it was about October, with an increase of new visitors of up to 42%. So if you haven't had a chance to visit the website, please visit walnutcreekdowntown.com. Walnut Creek Downtown social media accounts continue to be an important resource for sharing news, business updates, and promotions, as well as event advertising. Social media goals are to inform and support, advocate and represent our members, foster community, and create a positive environment. So far, we have over 24,000 followers combined between Facebook and Instagram. Approximately 700 people for each story is reached on Instagram, which is extremely valuable for our businesses and partners. And recently, we reached over 13,000 Instagram followers, so proud of that. So in 2022 or 21, we were happy to see large-scale events return with the beloved Walnut Creek First Wednesday on Cypress Street. Although this program did arrive at the same time as Omicron and wildfires, we pushed through. So that program kicked off the month-long program of Arts Around August, which concluded the program with another street festival the first Wednesday of September. The evening on Cypress Street welcomed over 1,000 guests on both nights, and we expanded onto Cypress Street between Main and Broadway, involving a large grand reopening of Salon Hanover and over 30 vendor booths. Arts Around August was a month-long celebration of the performing, visual, cultural, and culinary arts. So Walnut Creek Downtown took the lead to manage the 10 participating community organizations, including the City of Walnut Creek. The event was financially supported with $50,000 provided by the city for marketing, programming, and the event coordinator stipend. Over 40 events took place throughout the month, with multiple events occurring each week involving downtown businesses and enticing visitors to come downtown, stay, play, shop, and eat. So we are actively planning for the return of this program in August of this year. The Downtown Stages program was made possible by the sponsorship support of Toyota Walnut Creek, and it activated 4 outdoor stages throughout the downtown. Our Halloween event looked a little different this year. Instead of having the traditional trick-or-treat event downtown into each business, an outdoor movie night was made possible through a partnership with Broadway Plaza and State Farm Insurance agent Sally Severns. So over 80 carloads of family and friends enjoyed an evening event on the rooftop of Broadway Plaza's garage. And many guests we found shopped or dined before the movie started, supporting those local businesses. Our winter activities included the month-long holiday program Celebrate the Season, featuring outdoor night market with local artists selling their crafts, and ugly sweater contests, and programs that were sip and savor programs through our restaurants. The return of Walnut Creek on Ice was a joint effort this year with financial support from the city, which we're very grateful, which helped produce that 16th season, which was a welcome sight for many skaters of all ages. Our Valentine's Day was celebrated with a horse and carriage ride through the downtown, with over 125 riders enjoying the holiday, with many shopping and dining again before or after their rides. And so we have seen many new businesses arrive into downtown Walnut Creek, as I'm sure you are noticing. Some new favorites like Cupcakin and the original Hot Boys, Lita, Hooked, Dumpling House, Yoga Flow SF, Guava Island Eats. While some of our businesses have reinvented themselves with new ownership, grand reopenings like Salon Hanover and Tiki Tom's, or they've moved within the downtown like Main Street Rags or Andrus CY Louie. Occupancy levels continue to hold strong in the first quarter of 2022, and we see sections of the downtown are at nearly 100% occupancy, like Plaza Escuela, which is very encouraging. Staffing still remains a challenge for many of our businesses, as owners and operators work extended hours, or in some cases have to reduce their hours of operation. While this is not unique to Walnut Creek Downtown, Walnut Creek Downtown continues to assist with introducing new ideas and partnerships with ways to identify new hires for our downtown businesses through local associations and universities. Downtown Walnut Creek continues to see growth as it emerges from the pandemic. As Walnut Creek's main transit hub nears its completion, we're excited that the BART Transit Hub will provide a state-of-the-art station that welcomes visitors to the downtown Walnut Creek experience. Additional housing will be offered not only at the Waymark next to BART, but also at the mixed-use property located at downtown at 1380 North California. And new businesses that will be arriving this year and into 2023 include Pinstripes, Lifetime Fitness, Ethan Allen, Sweet Green, Shake Shack, Nick the Greek, Sandai Indonesian Restaurant, Barnes & Noble, Planet Fitness, Fizz Champagne Bar, and Ostra, with many of them opening beginning this summer. And promoting downtown Walnut Creek, as a place for entertainment and hospitality, draws more visitors, and creates a healthy nightlife environment. Additionally, activating these public spaces within the district not only attracts visitors and new customers, it also proven to drive out negative street behavior. Our events and public art and other activations in collaboration with local partners allows Walnut Creek Downtown to effectively tell the story of the unique place that Walnut Creek, downtown Walnut Creek is. This chart points back to the decision that the Board of Directors voted on a 10% bid increase to assist with programming, marketing, and staffing expenses. The board also recommended an annual 3% increase beginning with fiscal year 23-24. And as I mentioned before, we anticipate that these funds will increase will cover the increase in cost to do business, event production and marketing, and some of our larger events returning. As presented in the annual report, this budget includes the proposed budget for fiscal year 22-23. We continue to run on a very lean budget and staff. You'll note that Walnut Creek Downtown projects an increase in the associate membership fees. The board is reviewing its current associate membership program to expand the rates and benefits to include a more diverse membership that includes property owners, local and regional stakeholders that have expressed an interest in the association. So for our priorities and programs for 2023 include member and property owner engagement. We are increasing our board presence from the retail services and wellness owners and operators and meeting regularly with downtown retailers. Walnut Creek Downtown also will create a wellness task force that we're talking about as a possible collaborative effort with the chamber to further engage our various business stakeholders. Through Downtown Next, we will continue to participate in the development of this program to create a shared vision for downtown by representing the downtown business community voices. And through the Walnut Creek Coalition, we're identifying goals that align with the council and city staff and their priorities to involve community organizations to help achieve those goals through a collective community voice. We continue to work with the economic development and community development teams on downtown vacancies, business recruitment, zoning and sign ordinances, and finding ways to best influence outcomes for economic prosperity for the city. In regards to safety and the downtown and working with the Walnut Creek Police Department, we continue to work on our Clean and Safe programs while identifying necessary safety elements for downtown employees and our visitors. We meet regularly with the police department as well as monthly meetings with owners and operators to strengthen the relationship between PD and downtown businesses. One example of a potential partnership we're talking about, which came from a meeting actually with Mayor Francois and the Trinity Center, is making sure that our businesses understand the homeless resources that are available and maybe creating a webinar to be able to make sure that those are shared between the police department and ourselves, and they know how to handle various situations that impact their businesses and employees. And under beautification and events, we are hoping to expand the lamppost banner program for each of the events that we hold this year. We will include sponsor names for additional event and sponsor exposure, and these banners add to the beautification of the downtown, as well as a strong marketing feature for events and programs. As I mentioned, the large-scale events are coming back. We're excited to produce Restaurant Week Uncorked in mid-June, first Wednesday on August 3rd, and then Oktoberfest in Civic Park on October 15th. Our downtown cleanup, we are partnering, Donna's been working with Mike Vickers and his team in Public Works and identifying a couple of dates to add on to creating cleanup days. We had our first event on Earth Day, where we had about 25, 30 volunteers that showed up on a Saturday morning to assist with some cleanup and distributing bark around the City Hall. And we're looking forward to a couple more of those dates this year. And as mentioned, Arts Around August will be returning in August, where we have now 11 community organizations producing about 40 events throughout the month of August. So downtown Walnut Creek, as you see, is and here is thriving in 2023, and we're looking forward to Walnut Creek Downtowns Association continue to be an integral part of the plans to move the downtown towards a bright future. Through our collaborative efforts driven by our board and the staff, we remain committed to our downtown business community. So I appreciate your time and happy to answer any questions.
That was a great report.
Thank you.
Very, very exciting. Everything that's happening when you package it all together like that, very impressive. And I'm proud of what we're doing and what you're doing. Any questions of Ms. Hemingway? I had one, just recently someone asked, can you tell me a little bit more about This Week in the Creek and how someone can sign up for your newsletters? Because they're chock full of good information.
Probably the best thing to do is to go to our website, and there is a Join Now section, and so you can sign up for our website. So on Tuesdays of each week, we produce a business e-newsletter, and so that goes out to all of our downtown businesses with city information, our event information, any pertinent information for them. And then the public has, we have a public e-newsletter that goes out every Thursday, again with more events and public information. So both of those can be signed up through our website. Thank you.
That's great. And you had mentioned large-scale events, and I know there are different organizations that put on some of the parades that we have downtown, but do you know anything about the Walnut Festival Parade resuming this year or the holiday parade at Broadway Plaza?
I believe that the Walnut Festival Parade is coming back. I'm not specifically sure if that's run through the Walnut Festival organization. And then that's usually held in September, so hopefully we're getting back onto our regular schedule. And then I'm pretty sure that the Broadway Plaza Holiday Parade will be returning. That's usually held, I believe, that first week or that first Thursday in December. So I would probably suggest to check the Broadway Plaza website for that specific date.
That's great. Thank you. Any other questions? Mayor Pro Tem Silva.
Thank you. You mentioned that people can sign up to receive your newsletters on your website. What, by chance, is your website address?
WalnutCreekDowntown.com. Thank you.
Okay, I don't believe we have any more questions, so go ahead and open this item up for public comment. We're not taking any bid protests, so I think that simplifies things. If you're in the audience and would like to provide public comment on this item, please fill out the yellow speaker card and approach the lectern. And if you're joining us by Zoom, please use the raise hand feature or press *9 if you're connected by audio only. And as a reminder, each speaker will have 2 minutes to make their remarks. Turn to the city clerk.
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
I thought that might be the case. Okay, then we've done everything correctly, it seems like, and have a great staff presentation. We'll close the public comment period, and I'll go ahead and, what are we doing tonight on this? We're approving assessment reports and annual levy of assessments.
There are four actions before the council. The council can take them all as one motion if you wish.
We can.
You can, yes.
All right, so I move to adopt 4 resolutions. One, approving the assessment report of the Downtown Walnut Creek Business Improvement District for fiscal year 2022-23. The second, to approve the assessment report for the Downtown Walnut Creek South Business Improvement District for fiscal year 2022-23. The third is a resolution of intent to levy the assessments for fiscal year 22-23 for the bid and setting a public hearing for May 17th, 2022. And the fourth resolution is to establish the intent to levy the assessments for fiscal year 2022-23 for the South bid and setting a public hearing also for May 17th, 2022.
And I will second everything she said.
That makes it easy. Roll call. Roll call, please.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Silva,
Aye.
Councilmember Darling,
Aye.
Councilmember Haskew,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilk,
Aye.
Mayor Francois.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Well, great. That brings us almost near to the end of our time together for this evening. But before we adjourn, I do want to recognize that this Sunday is Mother's Day and want to acknowledge and honor all the mothers out there, including 3 of my council colleagues. Thank you for all that you've done, for not killing us when we were younger. To my own dear mother who's departed, but it's a special job and we value and appreciate all you do and hope you have a pleasant and enjoyable Mother's Day. And we are adjourned.